In the quiet town of Havenridge, there was one family everyone respected. Not because they were the richest, but because they were the kindest. The Adelaja family. Dr. Samuel Adelaja, a brilliant surgeon known for saving lives. His wife Clara, a respected lawyer who fought for people who couldn't afford justice. And their two children. 16-year-old Lily, calm, thoughtful and brilliant like her mother. 10-year-old Noah, curious, energetic, and always asking questions about the world. They lived in a large white house at the edge of town, surrounded by trees and laughter. People often said the Adelajas were proof that wealth didn't have to change people. But one night, everything changed. It was raining heavily that evening. The kind of rain that blurred headlights and turned highways into mirrors. The Adelaja family had been returning from a charity event in the city. Clara was driving slowly, careful as always. Samuel sat beside her, reviewing a message from the hospital. Lily was in the back seat reading. Noah was half asleep beside her. The highway was nearly empty. And then it happened. A truck. Out of control. Its driver had lost control on the wet road. The impact was devastating. Metal twisted. Glass exploded. The car spun violently before crashing off the road and disappearing into the dark roadside bushes. By the time emergency responders arrived, the rain had already washed away most of the evidence. The parents were found first. Dr. Samuel Adelaja, Clara Adelaja. Both gone instantly. The entire town would mourn them later. But that night, the rescue team focused on what they could still save. The first child they found was Lily. She was unconscious, trapped between twisted metal in the back seat. Her breathing was shallow. Her pulse was weak. The rescue team worked desperately in the rain, cutting through steel to pull her out. She was rushed to the hospital immediately. Doctors fought for hours to stabilize her. Broken ribs. Internal bleeding. A fractured skull. But she survived the night. And when the hospital contacted the family's closest relative, one name came up. Uncle Victor. Samuel's younger brother. A wealthy businessman who lived in the same town, but had rarely visited the family. Still, a family was family. Victor arrived at the hospital within hours. He looked devastated. Or at least he appeared to be. 3 days passed. Then 4. Then 7. No one mentioned Noah. Because no one knew he was missing. The police believed there had only been one child in the car. The wreckage had been too damaged. The rain too heavy. The crash too violent. No one realized another child had been thrown from the vehicle. No one. Except fate. About 3 kilometers away from the crash site lived Mr. Ibrahim Okoy. He was an old farmer. Wealthy but quiet. People in Havenridge knew him as the man who owned most of the farmland outside town. He had no wife, no children, and very few visitors. His days were simple. Wake up early. Walk his fields. Feed his animals. Enjoy the silence of the countryside. But one morning, something unusual caught his attention. As he walked along the edge of his property, he noticed something strange beside a bush. At first, he thought it was a pile of old clothes someone had thrown away. But when he got closer, he froze. It was a boy. Dirty. Injured. Barely breathing. Mr. Ibrahim knelt down immediately. The boy's body was covered in bruises and cuts. His leg was twisted unnaturally. But he was alive. Very much alive. And barely conscious. Most people would have called an ambulance immediately. But Mr. Ibrahim did something different. Not because he didn't care, but because he had lived long enough to distrust how the world treated fragile lives. He carried the boy into his farmhouse and called a private doctor he trusted, someone who owed him many favors. The doctor arrived quietly. He examined the child carefully. Then he said something surprising. "This boy has been injured for days. Mr. Ibrahim frowned. How many? Almost a week. The old farmer looked shocked. How is he still alive? The doctor shook his head. Some children refuse to die. 3 days later, the boy finally opened his eyes. Mr. Ibrahim was sitting beside the bed. The boy stared at him, confused. Where am I? You're safe, the old farmer replied gently. What's your name? The boy hesitated, then whispered, Noah. Mr. Ibrahim didn't connect the name immediately. But later that night, while watching the news, he saw the story. The fatal accident. The wealthy Adelaja family. The parents dead. One daughter alive. No mention of the son. Mr. Ibrahim slowly looked toward the room where the boy slept and realized something terrifying. The boy everyone thought had died was alive. Back at the hospital, Lily finally woke up. Her memory was fragmented, but she remembered one thing clearly. Noah. The doctors reassured her gently. There was no other child in the car. But Lily shook her head weakly. Yes, there was. That was when Uncle Victor's expression changed. Just for a moment. A tiny flicker. Gone in a second. But long enough. Because Victor knew something no one else did. The accident had not been an accident. Months before the crash, Samuel Adelaja had discovered something troubling. His own brother, Victor, had been involved in illegal financial schemes using the family's name. Samuel planned to expose him. Victor panicked. He couldn't allow that. So he arranged the crash. He thought everyone in the car would die. And with them, the truth. But 2 children had survived. And one of them was missing. 1 month later, Noah was strong enough to walk. Mr. Ibrahim finally told him the truth about the accident. The boy cried for hours. But eventually he asked one question. My sister, is she alive? Yes, the farmer replied softly. And that was the moment everything began to change. Because sometimes the world thinks a story has ended, when it has only just begun. Weeks later, Mr. Ibrahim brought Noah back to town. But he did not take him to the hospital. Instead, he took him to the police. Because the old farmer had spent the last month investigating something quietly. And what he discovered was shocking. The crash had been planned. And the man responsible was already pretending to be the children's guardian. Uncle Victor. When Lily finally saw Noah alive, she burst into tears. Victor didn't. He just stared. Because the one witness he thought was gone forever had just walked back into the world. And this time, the truth would not be buried. The Adelaja name would recover. The children would survive. And the man who thought he had erased them would soon learn a painful lesson. Some people survive accidents, but the truth always survives too.